Hey everybody, Tim here with tonight's episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 4, Episode 23, The Host. So I'm not sure exactly how to review this episode. It's going to be a little difficult for me, so if you guys could stick with me. I've binged Star Trek numerous times. I've watched Star Trek my entire life. But doing this project, doing these episode reviews, I'm trying to do it just watching this episode, no using hindsight. And sometimes that can be very difficult, and this is one of those episodes. The reason being, this is the episode to introduce the Trill. Some of you already are like, oh, I know where he's coming from. So, this episode starts with Dr. Crusher doing the voiceover, kind of talking about what's going on in the Enterprise. First off, much to other Ma Joshua's dismay, she mentions Wesley, which I love because it's showing that he's still part of the universe and that we haven't just written him out and forgotten about him. So I really like that little continuity type thing. And then from there, she's just kind of like, oh, sick bay's okay. I heard from Wesley. Things are going great. Oh, by the way, I'm seeing someone. And you're like, oh, what is this? Because they've been hinting at Dr. Crusher and Picard. Like, right now, they're just like really good friends. But there's an implied romance that we haven't quite seen before. And we've seen Picard with a romance with Vosh. But now we're finally starting to see Dr. Crusher. And it's really interesting. So to kind of continue, she's seeing a man who is a Trill, and he's supposed to be a diplomat. And to kind of get to the end of the episode, the body ends up getting hurt, and she finds out that Trills are actually little life forms that are inside a host body, kind of like a symbiote. And that the body she knew is dying, but the Trill is still okay. And so she has to take it out. And now, before another Trill host can come aboard, they have to figure out what to do with it. So they end up putting it inside Riker. So now we see Riker and Crusher having a romance. But Crusher is having a lot of trouble accepting that. So there's a lot of political stuff going on in this episode, and it's interesting, but I want to kind of skip over a lot of it because it's just Riker being the Trill diplomat, Odin being the diplomat between these two different races from Planet A and Planet B, which I didn't even just make that up. That's actually their A and B. So we finally get to the end of this episode, which is where I find this the most interesting. They bring the new Trill host aboard, and they take Odin, which is the little slug, and they put it inside the new host. And Crusher's like, okay, I can't wait to see Odin again. And it ends up being a woman. And then we start, this is mind-blowing to me. This is so good. And I don't know how to stress how important this episode is. Because now we see Crusher, like, I saw you as the first man that I knew as Odin, and I accepted you. I loved you. And now I see you as Riker, and I'm having a lot of trouble with it. And now I'm seeing you as a third host, and I can't do this anymore. And so there's the fantastic scene at the end of this episode where Crusher and Odin are talking, and Crusher basically says, like, I can't accept this. Maybe it's a human flaw in myself, but I cannot accept seeing you go from body to body to body to body. Like, I just can't accept that. Now, why this is important for me or for this group is she never makes reference to the fact that the Trill is now in a female host. I'll let that sink in for a minute. Like, this is the first episode that basically briefly touches on, like, homosexuality. Because Crusher never says, I can't accept you because you are now a woman. She never says that. She only says, this is the third body I've seen you in this week, and I can't accept that you keep changing. Now, realistically, this episode's like 1991. They can't really do a homosexual relationship on TV at this point. It is what it is. Put it aside. It can't be done. So, the fact that they don't even approach that they just say, you keep changing bodies, I think is a very important standpoint, and I'm all for it. I love the fact that Crusher is like, I accept you for who you are, but I can't be in a relationship with you changing faces. I love that. I think it's really important, and I think it's a great standpoint. So, All of that being said, from here we go to Deep Space Nine, where Trills change a lot. They change in appearance, they change in personality, they change a ton. And we'll get to that when we get to Deep Space Nine. But I just want to do give a special shout out that this isn't the first time we see the Trill, and this is important to keep in mind the way that we perceive them. So for those who have seen this episode, do you guys like the Trill? And also, before I get too far ahead of myself, this isn't the first time that we've seen a Trill-like species. If you go back to the season 1 finale, Conspiracy is actually what the Trill are based on. Where if you guys remember, that's the one where Picard is involved with weeding out this conspiracy between Starfleet, where a bunch of high-uppers have these symbiotes in them that have taken control of them, and then they run away. So if you guys want more, go watch that video. But that was the idea behind the Trill. And depending on the fan fiction, the novels that you read, they were actually created by the Trill. They were basically like an evil sub-Trill species. So for those who have seen this one, for those who have seen Deep Space Nine, for those who have seen Conspiracy, what do you guys think about the Trill? Go ahead, let me know. What do you guys think about Crusher and how she feels about Odin as she met him, and then Odin as she rejected her? There's a lot to talk about in this episode, so go ahead, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you guys for everything. I appreciate every single one of you, and I will see you guys next time for The Mind's Eye.